So welcome back, everyone. So I'll just chant the 4 or 5 sutras around Ishvara that we see in the first chapter. Ishvara pranidhanadva klesha karma vipakashayir aparamrishta purusha vishesha Ishvaraha tatra niratishayam sarvajna bijam Sayesha purveshamapi guru kalena navachedat tasya vachakah pranavaha tajjapasthadartha bhavanam tatah pratyakchetanadhigamopyantaraya bhavascha. So these are the sutras you see in the first chapter. Later on, the second chapter, we revisit Ishvara Pranidhana. In fact, many commentators of the Yoga Sutras, they spend a lot of time explaining to the reader why Patanjali has mentioned Ishvara Pranidhana 3 times. When we talked about definition of sutra, Alpaksharam, Asandigdam, Saravat, Vishwatomukam, Astobam, Anavadyam, Cha, Sutram, Sutra Vido Viduhu. There is no repetition. When you present an idea in the sutra, it should not be repeated again. So somebody may get angry. Why is Patanjali doing this? I thought he was a good writer of sutra. He's repeating Ishvara Pranidhana in 3 places. So what's wrong? It's not a sutra. So in order to address that question in the mind, so many commentators, they give this explanation because it appears in 3 different sadhanas, namely Samadhi, Samadhi Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Kriya Yoga. And because it is repeated 3 times, this is the only teaching that you see repeated 3 times. Of course, Swadhyaya is repeated and Tapas is also repeated in 2 places, but Ishvara Pranidhana is repeated in 3 places. 3 places. And therefore, this must be one of the most important teachings, right? That which warrants repetition 3 times. That means it's very important teaching. That is why Krishnamacharya used to call Patanjali Yoga Sutras as Bhakti Yoga. Interesting, right? If somebody reads Yoga Sutras, most likely they will latch on to like asanas or meditation. But when we look deeply into the text, what is it, the idea that repeats? It is Ishvara Pranidhana. So it's a text on Bhakti. So in his classic work called Yoga Rahasya, Krishnamacharya says that in one of the verses he says, Patanjali Yoga Sutra teaches Bhakti. It's a text on Bhakti Yoga, like that. Okay, now we are going to examine the other sutras, which beautifully Sumitraji has given an illustration here. And I have also shared this on WhatsApp. Nice pictures and beautiful illustrations. So we have now been introduced to Ishvara. And our mind is curious. I want to know more about him. Who is this fellow who has this very special place, who is not entered into the realm of avidya? Why is he so special? What can he do that I cannot do? Things like that. So let us look at some of the other sutras and how I can connect with them. In Samadhi Yoga, there is a very special sadhana that is given, a practice that is given where we can connect with Ishvara. Would you like to know the practice? It's going to come in a few moments. So Ishvara is an entity that transcends these 4, Klesha, Karma, Vipaka and Ashaya. That's what we saw. And then the next sutra he says, Tatra Niratishayam Sarvagya Bijam. Tatra Niratishayam Sarvagya Bijam. Bijam means seed. Nya means knowing or knowledge. Sarvajna means somebody who knows everything. So the seed of all knowingness is there in Ishvara. It can also be interpreted as Ishvara is that Purusha that knows about what is happening in every nook and corner of the universe. Ishvara is aware of everything. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a shloka, 13th chapter, I think 13th verse. Sarvatah pani padam tat Sarvato Shishiro Mukham. Sarvata Panipadam Tatida. Arms and feet of the divine is there everywhere in the universe. And Sarvataha Akshi Shiro Mukham. So everywhere there is eyes. You can never hide from God. That's what it means. Wherever, whichever corner of the universe you occupy, God will be there. They'll be watching, right? Like a mother watching a child, not like surveillance camera watching whatever. It's like the mother watching the child. So Sarvata Panipadam Tata Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham. So all knowing, because the eyes of God are everywhere. Like that, the Ishvara is aware of everything. The seed of knowingness is there in Ishvara. All knowingness. Niratishayam, everywhere. Everywhere. The seed of all knowingness everywhere. Every part, every subatomic particle in the universe, every bit of space. Sarvagya Bijam. And how does it help us? Remember that we are no different from Ishvara. Whatever we read about Ishvara should apply to ourselves. If somebody says, you know everything, you won't even trust them, you won't even believe them. But if we tell, okay, there's this Superman called Ishvara, and they know everything, maybe you can say, okay. And then later they give this punchline, you're no different from the Superman, right? So that is a trick we are using here. Because Ishvara has these powers, we also have the seed of that within us. The seed of all-knowingness resides in us as well.
So Tatra refers to in that Ishvara.
Yes.
Right?
In that Ishvara.
In that Ishvara.
There. Tatra is there. In there, Ishvara.
In Ishvara. Niratishayam refers to
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Sarvagya,
that Ishvara who is present everywhere.
Who is aware of every place in the universe.
Okay.
Sarvagya means knowing everything.
Knowing everything.
About everywhere in the universe.
Okay.
The seed of all knowingness is there.
Sure. Just a quick thing, because you said Patanjali Yoga Sutra is considered as a text on Bhakti, right? But traditionally, they tell us asanas come under Raja Yoga, and or Ashtanga Yoga is given under Raja Yoga. So, is it because it's different, or just if you can?
Those are just the three streams of sadhanas that Patanjali gives. But if we were to capture what is the main sadhana that Patanjali presents, so one thing you could do is, which sadhana does he mention most frequently? In that sense, it's a Bhakti Yoga text. It has all sadhanas with the asanas, pranayama, yama niyamas. But the repetition says that this is a very important sadhana. That is Ishvara Pranidhana. So in that sense, Krishnamacharya, that is how he defends himself when he says it's a Bhakti text. And it also changes our perspective, right? Oh, that's a new way to look. I never thought of that. If somebody asks, what yoga is Patanjali Yoga? Perhaps our first answer may not be Bhakti Yoga. We might think Bhakti Yoga means read Narada Bhakti Sutra or read some other text. But here, Krishnamacharya says it's a Bhakti text. Primarily, it's a Bhakti text. Because that's the idea that repeats itself.
Because if you remove the Bhakti aspect, it becomes a mechanical practice. Right?
Exactly. Whenever we are devoted to what we are doing, when the Bhakti is there, excellence can happen in that. When somebody gives their heart and soul to what they are doing, they do an excellent job. Otherwise, it's a mechanical job.
So that way, all four yogas can intertwine with each other. Right?
Yes. In fact, there are more than 4 yogas. You can include Nada Yoga. There's a Laya Yoga. Laya Yoga means the yoga of dissolution, dissolving. Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layana. There's a Laya Yoga that Patanjali mentions also. There are many other streams. Kundalini Yoga. We can talk about Swara Yoga. Are you aware of Swara Yoga? Swara refers to the sound of the breath. Sound of the breath. And the Swara Yoga, the primary text is Shiva Swarodaya, which is a conversation between Shakti and Shiva. talks about the left and right nostril, how to control the prana through the Ida and the Pingala, and what are the effects. If you eat, consume food when the right nostril is active. If you drink water when the left nostril is active. And the nostril dominance changes every 90 minutes. So all the science behind it is called Swara Yoga. It's a very fascinating topic. So like that, there are different streams of yoga. And you are right, it is just an artificial boundaries that we are putting. If you look at the oceans of the world, we're saying Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, they're all connected. We're just putting artificial boundaries. Or even countries, we're dividing them artificially. It's only in people's minds. It is one big piece of land. Right? So artificially we are, and in the scriptures, we see that they all converge. For example, there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. That means after several lifetimes, they become a jnani, and the jnani is the highest bhakta. So can we really say jnana yoga is different from bhakti yoga? How many of us have listened to M.S. Subbulakshmi's Vishnu Sahasranam? So it's an amazing chant, right? As a prelude to that, there is a short speech by Rajagopalacharya. And he says, Jnana and Bhakti are one and the same, like that. So it's amazing, the conviction with which he says that. Jnana and Bhakti are not two separate things, they are one and the same. So all these yogas, you can practice all of them together because ultimately they're not different.
That's why, when we earlier when I asked about bhakti, oftentimes bhakti in today's world is has a very different connotation than what Rajagopalacharya clearly
Sometimes,
mentioned, or even I think even in Bhagavad Gita at some place Krishna says that bhakti without jnana is not bhakti. Right? Or something. I think it's jnana.
so in the
Bhakti is arrogance.
No, bhakti. Yeah. Bhakti is good, but it must be accompanied.
he says the seventh chapter.
7.
Yeah, he doesn't say that. He says something a little different. He says there are 4 types of bhaktas. Chatur vidha bhajante mam. Jana sukriti norjuna. Jnano artho jignasu ratharthi jnanecha bharatarshava. Is the shloka. So what are the 4 types of bhaktas? Artha. It's a good topic. Let's examine that. 4 types of bhaktas, right? So artaha. Artaha means one who is suffering. Sometimes people remember God only when they are suffering. When they are relieved from suffering, then their attention is on elsewhere. That's why in Mahabharata, Kunti says, give me a lot of suffering. So I keep thinking about you.
Yeah.
So
In Canada, we have a scene says Kashtava. No, I'm forgetting. Sorry, continue. I'm forgetting.
So first is the Artha. And then second is Jignasu. Jignasu means somebody who's curious. How big is the universe? Is there an entity called God? It's not really a bhakti, but a curiosity. Right? Jignasu. And then the third one is Artharthi. Artharthi means somebody who wants a material gain. Oh, I want to get a new car, so let me do puja every day. They remember God because they want something. They want some material benefit. And then the fourth one is Jnani. When Jnana happens, that means when they become aware of the grandness of who they are and what the world is, how big the universe is, they become so much in awe of the Creator or awe of the Divine. So the bhakti that comes from blossoming of knowledge to fullness, that is the fourth type, jnani. And then he says, Tesham jnani nityayuktaha. That means of these 4, it is only the jnani that has consistent bhakti. Right? When the person gets their car, they will forget God. And when the curiosity, when they read about something, oh, the universe came from a big bang. Okay, I don't need to know about God. So it's like intermittent. So the jnani is having unbroken bhakti. But he says, all 4 are exalted. Whichever way you come to the divine, all four are great, he says. Udaram sarva e vaite. Udara means exalted or generous or exalted. All these four types are very special, dear to me, he says. But of these four, because the jnani is dear to me all the time, I am dear to a jnani all the time. That's what he says. And when does the jnana happen? Bahunam janmanam ante. After several lifetimes. Just like Vairagya dawns after life experience. So like that, when the conveyor belt of life takes us through many, many experiences, not just in this little lifetime, but many, many lifetimes, it culminates in jnanam. And that jnanam ultimately leads to bhakti. And such a person is very difficult to find, because all of us are in different points in the conveyor belt. Some are close to the destination. Some are just began their first steps in the conveyor belt. So the people who are close to the end of the conveyor belt are very few. That's what he says. Okay. Tatra niratishayam sarvagya bijam. All knowing. The seed of all knowingness is there in Ishvara. And as a corollary, it is there in all Purushas. Because Ishvara is just one more Purusha. Tatra niratishayam sarvagya bijam. Sayesha purveshamapi guru kalena navachhedat. The next sutra. Saha, eshaha. Although you don't see the ha here because of sandhi rules, it's called a visarga lopa sandhi. The two dots, the visarga, the ha, the saha becomes sa, and eshaha becomes esha. So sa esha purveshamapi guru kalena anavachhedat. What it means is, because Ishvara is the all-knowing, in order to receive knowledge, who do you go to? Somebody who's awakened, right? So it is Ishvara who is the true Guru. Sayesha purveshamapi guruhu. Not just now, but even in the past. The true Guru is Ishvara.
The most ancient of gurus.
Most ancient, or even in the past, Ishvara was the Guru. Even now, Ishvara is the Guru. And then he says, Kalena anavachhedat. Anavachhedat means unbroken. So unbroken in time. The Guru is nothing but Ishvara. So all the Gurus that we see, basically, you can think of them as antennas of the Ishvara. Attune themselves. Or to use one of the new terms that I've read, channel Ishvara. So you attune the radio dial, and the music from that radio station will come through that antenna. Tuning it. So this is the true Guru, or Purveshamapi Guru, the original Guru. You can even interpret it as the original Guru. Original Guru. And it is continuing to be the Guru even now, because unbroken in time. Kalena anavachhedat. Somebody was asking, the workshops, how do you know Ishvara is still the Guru? Maybe day before yesterday they decided, okay, I had enough. For the last billion years I have been a Guru. Now enough. It reminded me of, there was a Himalayan salt. Have you heard this?
You heard of Himalayan salt?
It's a joke. There's a Himalayan salt in a Indian grocery store. And it says 4 million year old Himalayan salt. And behind it, there's an expiration date, August 2023. Imagine, 4 million years, it was nice and happy. And you decided, okay, I'm going to exit in 1 month. Ishvara is not like that. So Ishvara is unbroken by time. So Kalena anavachhedat. Yesha purveshamapi guru kalena anavachhedat. And then next sutra. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. Tasya vachaka pranavaha. Pranava means primordial sound, which refers to the pranava mantra, which is Om. Tasya vachaka. So vachaka, the scholars who have given commentary on the sutra, they can interpret this in two ways. One way is you address Ishvara by the name Om. Ishvara's name is Om. Like when somebody tells you a name, when I say Patanjali, immediately the whole baggage of our ideas or thoughts about Patanjali comes into our picture. When you say banana, you think of that fruit, etc. When you say apple, depending on whether you're a fruit lover or a gadget lover, different images come to your mind, right? So that name has a lot of things associated with it. Also, one more thing. When they've actually conducted this experiment in some of the camps, scout camps and all that, when a lot of children are sleeping in the same big dormitory or whatever, and when they call out a name of a particular student, particular child, only they will wake up. If everyone is sleeping, they will wake up. All of the others will be still sleeping. They actually did all these experiments. It's amazing, right? So if you want to grab Ishvara's attention, then you say Om.
Okay.
So Ishvara will say, yes, what can I do for you? Right? So calling out the name of Ishvara through Om. Or you can say Om is the way you tune that radio dial, so that there's attunement of the mind with the Ishvara Tattva.
Sriyamji, I read somewhere about the Nama, Nami, Netaha. This is like the name and the name are one and the same.
Yes, there are many shlokas that embody this principle. So there is one very famous shloka by Kalidasa. It says, Vagartha viva sampriktav Vagartha pratipatthaye Jagatah pitarau vande Parvati parameshwarau. It's a very famous shloka, right? Vak artha. Vak means the sound, the words. Artha means the meaning. They're so inseparable. When you hear a word, immediately the meaning also strikes the mind. Vak and artha. Like how close they are, they are so much fused. Like that, Parvati parameshwarau. Parvati and Parameshwara are like that. So that is the meaning, Vak and artha. In the Yoga Sutras, later on we will see the first chapter. There is a sutra where he says, when you bring the mind to a place of a certain samadhi, you can actually cut this association. In other words, the meaning and the word, you can see them separately. You can actually cut them. And the sutra is Smriti Parishuddhau Swarupa Shunyevarthamatra Nirbhasa Nirvitarka. And in the previous sutra, how does it go? Previous sutra of Smriti Parishuddhau is, I think, Tatra Shabdartha Jnana Vikalpai Sankirna Savitarka Samapattihi. So here also Patanjali talks about the word and the meaning. Tatra Shabda Artha. Artha Vikalpaihi. Tatra Shabda Artha Jnana Vikalpai. Shabda Artha Jnana. All these three. When they are fused together and when the mind is attuned to that, it is called Savitarka Samadhi, he says.
Okay.
And then the next level of Samadhi, you actually break that association. And it becomes Smriti Parishuddhau. You actually purify the memory. Smriti Parishuddhau. Swarupa Shunyeva Arthamatra Nirbhasa Nirvitarka. The Artha alone shines. Meaning alone shines. You see, not the symbols. Like when you talk about numbers, you write the number 2 or call the name 3, 4, 5, etc. But these are all just labels. Behind them, it's pointing to some entity which is more subtle. When you say pi, you write that symbol, Greek letter pi, but it's pointing to something subtle. So yogi is able to disassociate the labels and grab on to the essence of what it is.
So that becomes progressive, japa to only artha.
Exactly. Only artha matra nirbhasa. That alone is shining. Artha alone is shining. And the label all drops off. So there comes a stage where Ishvara can be experienced without the sound. There comes a stage. But now, until we reach there, we can use this principle.
It's kind of the Vishnu Sahasra Shabda, Adhika Shabda Sound.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, from the visual, because from the visual you're going to sound, and then the sound also ceases to exist.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You don't have to not have meanings. Right? Image maybe is what it means. Right? If you say live with that means even a image.
Yeah. No object.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe.
Vitarka means
Vitarka?
like not argument, discussion
Discussion.
or back and forth.
Ah.
Vitarka. Tarka means logic.
Logic.
Vitarka means like Vishesha Tarka, you can say.
Ah.
And Nirvitarka, you're not even
Vitarka.
discussing, there's no argument in the mind. The
Beyond
Artha alone shines. So till that happens, till Ishvara shines, we use this abhyasa, we use this practice. So what is the practice? He's going to say more.
So I have a question.
Hmm.
You said something that when the word, meaning and jnana come together.
Yes.
So isn't the meaning jnana?
So Tatra Shabda Artha Jnana. Artha means, there's a distinction there. Jnana is the awareness of it. Artha means a conceptual understanding of what it is.
It's like Shravanam, Maranam, Vidyasam kind of stuff.
It's like
Or is it
conceptual meaning.
knowledge and wisdom?
Yeah, knowledge, something like wisdom, jnana.
You could say that Jnanam Vijnanam.
Ah,
Another
yeah,
way to
yeah.
Jnana Vijnanam.
Awareness. Yeah. Okay.
Whether it's experiential knowledge or conceptual knowledge. So, Tatra Niratishayam Sarvagya Bijam Sayesha Purvesham Api Guru Kalena Vacheda Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. And how to use this pranava? He gives the abhyasa in the next sutra. Tad japaha tad artha bhavanam. Tad japas tad artha bhavanam. Through japam tad artha bhavanam. Japa. How is japa done? So when the mind is wandering away, bring the mind back to remember that same principle. So we are doing japa on Om. That's what he's suggesting here. Om, Om, Om. And that is the way to connect to Ishvara. So when we keep doing japa on Om, when the mind is trying to stray away, you bring the mind back. And how the japa should be done? That artha bhavanam. Knowing the meaning of Om, and with that bhavana, with that right attitude, with that right space of respect and bhakti, pranidhana bhava. So with that, if we practice it, our mind will be attuned to Ishvara. There's also one more interpretation of the sutra. The other interpretation is tad japaha. With the japa of Om, tad artha. The artha means the meaning of Om, which you have so far understood intellectually through the previous sutras, becomes a bhavana, becomes an experience.
Okay.
You see, that's another way to interpret it. The artha, the meaning becomes an experiential understanding. It's no longer just some theory, some concept. You experientially know it. It's like most of the things are theory for us, right? We learn about, say, electrons and neutrons. Have we really experienced it? Do we know it's there? Or maybe the scientists are giving us some fairy tale, right? How do we know the truth of all that? So unless we experience it, then we cannot really be true. In fact, the art of stating that is also, they talk about it. Swami Bodhanandaji, he talks about it. Let me give an example. When I say, I am hungry, you understand what it means, right? But it's actually a false statement. Because the true I cannot experience the hunger. The hunger is of the body, right? Now, even that is a false statement. When somebody says, my body is hungry, what happens is, sometimes the body is hungry, but if you're doing some very important work, your mind is so focused out there, you don't even listen to the body being hungry. So the actual, more truer statement, let me put it way, truer statement would be, my mind is reporting that the body is hungry. In other words, the screen of the chitta, I can see the image of the body in a state of hunger. So many ways to put it. So unless it becomes an experience, tadartha bhavana, it is still a conceptual level. And what is the benefit? What is the siddhi of practicing this japa sadhana, right? So he says in the next sutra, which is japa tadartha bhavanam tatat pratyak chetanadhigamo api antaraya bhavascha. It leads to pratyak chetanam. Pratyak chetanadhigamam. That means pratyak is opposite direction or inward direction. Introverted, not extroverted, introverted. It directs you back to yourself. It allows the mind to repose in the self. Atma Nigraha, it's called in Vedanta. Atma Nigraha. Graha means house. So when the mind is housed in the self, it is not jumping around everywhere else. It is housed in the self. This is called Pratyak Chetanadhigamo. Pratyak Chetanadhigamo api. And then he gives one more benefit. Antaraya abhavascha. It will remove the obstacles in the path of yoga. That's what he says. Obstacles. And then in the next segment, he talks about what are the 9 obstacles. And then he gives more upayas to overcome the obstacles. This is one upaya, namely japa or Ishvara Pranidhana, you can say. And if somebody says, oh, I don't believe in Ishvara, Patanjali says, okay, don't worry. I'll give you one more option. Remember, the first chapter is full of or. So if you don't like Ishvara, don't worry. He'll give you one more sadhana. In second chapter, there is no choice. You just have to do everything. So here he will go on to say what are the other choices. Maybe some minds are not attuned to bhakti. Some more easily are they are drawn to bhakti. Some others, they say, okay, I want analysis, not emotion. So there is something for everyone. Patanjali has given something for everyone. Any questions? Yeah.
So, actually, when we refer to Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, he did not actually refer to any symbol or sound. It could be Om, or different things. Today, if you go to different schools, some people say you want to say Om as an Om or Om. There are many different things. So, as long as you convey the meaning with the sound that kind of represents the body of sound, is that okay? Or is there any specific way of saying it?
Yeah, Patanjali doesn't address that. But the Om, the mechanics of the sound Om and what each of the syllables, there are 4 syllables in Om. A, U, and a silence. Silence is an integral part of Om. If you just mindlessly keep saying Om, 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 that means you are just partially doing japa. There should always be that pause. So the mechanics of Om is presented in Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad, it's like a very, very abstract theory. And in order to fully understand Mandukya Upanishad, we have to read one of the classic commentaries, which is called a Karika, Mandukya Karika, written by Gaudapada, who was Shankara's teacher's teacher. That's one of the most classic works. And we actually chant one of the verses from the Karika very frequently in one of the meditations that we do. In fact, we're going to see that shloka when we talk about the other 2 sutras that we missed for the asanas. So there's a shloka that goes, Laye sambodhaye chittam, vikshiptam shamayet punaha, sakashayam vijaniyat, samapraptam na chalayet. Have you heard of this shloka before? We use this for cyclic meditation, right? So we'll examine that sutra, that shloka a little later. But it's a profound meaning there.
I actually had a similar question that Sriniji asked, and I didn't want to, it may be slightly derailing, but in Vishishta Dvaita, there is the notion of prapatti. And while men and women can get prapatti, once you do prapatti, women are told not to chant Om. Instead, they are told to chant So, that's that's always been a question as to why, and to, Sriniji's point, by chanting, are we losing the benefits of?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not qualified to speak on it. I don't know about that. Prapati, of course, is surrender. And Krishnamacharya used to talk about, Krishnamacharya was a Vasishtha.
Yeah.
So he used to talk about Prapati, and he mentions that in his Yoga Rahasya. Yoga Rahasya is a very unique text. Although we credit Yoga Rahasya to Krishnamacharya, what Krishnamacharya used to say was, you know about this text?
Nathamuni.
Nathamuni. It was actually written by Nathamuni in 9th century AD, and the text was lost. And somehow Krishnamacharya cognized that back, and he revived that text word by word. That is the claim. So it's amazing. And some people say that Krishnamacharya is actually avatar of Nathamuni. Shall I play something? I heard, I didn't know this chant before. I just listened to it today. It is a invocation chant on Krishnamacharya. That invocation chant says explicitly that he is a reincarnation of Nathamuni. Shall I play the chant?
Yes, please.
Okay. Give me about 37 seconds. I'll find the chant.
Just doing that. Reason for ignoring the path is activating the Bhagavad. So that's significance of physiological changes.
Okay.
So that could be one reasons, because even the Gayatri Mantra, they say there are versions of Gayatri Mantra, they say when and we got into a major debate in a live class. And I found a very detailed analysis on that. So it's somewhere, but again, it goes back to why we don't have a situation of Gayatri Mantra.
And there are some teachers like Sri Ravi Shankarji, for example. He gave initiations on Upanayana along with the Gayatri to women also.
Yeah. Now they open it up.
Yeah, I think in ancient times, women had Upanayana.
Sri Ravi Shankarji, what he says is, the Devata of the Gayatri Mantra, Gayatri is feminized. So how can you not give the Gayatri?
Yeah, the streets.
Raushiji was the first batch of people, right?
And even Eka has done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, Dr. Raju. Namaste, Dr. Raju. We are just concluding the session. Dr. Raju, we are concluding the session with a Sanskrit chant that I just learned today. This is a chant on Krishnamacharya, where it's an invocation where Krishnamacharya is described as the avatar of Nathamuni, great saint, great yogi of 9th century, Nathamuni. So I'll just play the chant. This is in the voice of one of the senior Vinyasakrama teachers. It's my very good friend. He lives in Montreal. His name is Mike De Masi. And he's chanting that.
Shri Krishna Vagisha Yatishwarabhyam Samprapta Chakrankana Bhashyasaram Shri Narangendra Yatau Samarpitaswam Shri Krishna Maryam Guruvaryamide Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatatara Kratodayam Yogacharyam Krishna Maryam Gurvaryamaham bhaje Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om
nice chant.
Beautiful pranam to name Ishvara.
Yes, Pranava mantra. Tasya Vachaka Pranava. We were just talking about Ishvara because Guru Purnima day. Sayesha Purvesham api Guruhu Kalena Anavachchedat. So we are really very, very fortunate that one of my teachers, all my wisdom in Bhagavad Gita is thanks to Dr. Raju. I've been studying with him since 2008. And every morning, early in the morning, we had this, you can say, study group called Shubhodayam. And that is where we share knowledge with each other. And I also shared about Yoga Sutras, and I learned more, lot of Bhagavad Gita. And I really am blessed that I had the opportunity in my life to, study with, Vyasa, they call Vishala Buddhi. So when I see Dr. Raju, that's what comes to my mind. The depth and the breadth of knowledge that he has is just amazing. So Dr. Raju, can you please, we'd like to invite you and maybe you can speak a few words to us.
I can sit next to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is Vyasapeetham. Yes. It's a very sacred seat. Oh, namaste. Anujaji. Srini, namaste. Isha, namaste. Your names, please.
I'm Sumitra Subramanian.
Sumitra.
Sumitra ji is my first yoga teacher with whom I studied for 14 years. His daughter.
And Varsha.
Varshaji.
Anu.
Anu.
Wow.
Raghu,
Anu.
Raghu,
Raghu.
Sriniji.
Srini. And this house is yours. Okay. Srini. Tumala. No.
This is Sri.
Okay.
Guraku.
Guraku.
Tumala is the neurologist in which
Okay. So, before I begin, I know Sri Ramji doesn't need this. This is Pustakam. It is all in his Mastakam. And not only Mastakam, but it is Hasta Karatala Malakam for him. It's not only just in his hand and then he puts into practice. But when I saw this, I thought there is no better person to give this to. So, Sriniji, do you mind just giving this to? Yeah, please. And especially on this day.
Can you show us the cover? You would like to see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I know.
That looks beautiful. Yeah. And by whom is it?
This is Patanjali Yoga Sutras
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
It is by Vedic Cosmos. They have excellent editions of Bhagavad Gita, Guru Gita, and Yoga Sutras. And they have a large life-size Bhagavad Gita with one shloka on one page, almost this size. Yeah, it's actually beautiful. And yeah, so please.
It's an honor, Ishwar Pranidhana, for me to give this the most abundance and treasure gift.
Thank you so much.
Beyond me.
Thank you, Dr. Raju. Thank you, Sriniji. Thanks to everyone for joining the.
And I don't know whether you believed in what Sri Ramji said, but you'll believe in this. He's been my teacher. So and like you have seen him, what a great teacher he is. And so when I noticed that, I thought, so if the Patanjali Yoga Sutras could be complemented with the Bhagavad Gita, and then fortunately we had good teachers as well. And then we have Swami Bodhananda. Hopefully you get to meet him in the first week of October when Swamiji comes here. We both are now, along with at least half a dozen one or two others from here, Dr. Anup Shetty, and also Savitaji, I think Savita Joshi from Yoga Bharati. She is also joining us for the 25th anniversary of Swami Bodhananda Sambodha Ashram in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Swamiji stays here for about 6 months and then goes to India for another 6 months. And when he is here, about 4 months, he travels. In a month, he always dedicated to Texas. So he'll be here for a week. We are trying to organize at least, so 4 sessions by Swamiji, and from October 1st to 8th. 4
One request is you should post Swamiji here in this ranch.
Yeah.
For one of the sessions.
Shall we do that?
Oh, absolutely. Because with Sriramji, I met Swami Bodhananda in California. I even visited him in Kalamazoo.
You did.
And I'm planning to actually join at the Sambodha Society celebration, perhaps with Brahma Sutra.
Lovely.
And
Okay.
it is
So-
the whole month of November
Yeah.
that he used to post in the Bay Area. Every day used to be a festival.
I know.
They start and
I know.
and the Ganesh
know.
Homam.
Yeah.
And I've always been asking for can we get a similar season here in Dallas?
We'll do that. So Swamiji,
Huh?
Please let us know.
No,
we'll do that.
Please let
So
us
Swamiji is enlightened, eloquent, and so easily accessible and approachable. So for you, you will see a father figure in him. So it's such a gracious presence in his presence. So sometimes the doubts will be dispelled just by talking to him and by listening to him. So that's one thing which I wanted to tell. And then, can I take maybe 10, 15 minutes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
please. I also
So-
have a request for you, Dr. Raju.
Yeah.
During your 10-15 minutes
Yeah.
that you are sharing with us so generously.
Yeah.
No, Dr. Raju is also a great poet. He's a neonatologist by profession, so he calls it baby doc. And he can speak in Sanskrit, he's a great Sanskrit scholar. He's a great poet. He composes poems in Telugu, Sanskrit, and English. And I would humbly ask him to share a poem with us on this occasion.
With pleasure, yeah. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I am a physician by profession and baby doctor, like neonatologist, newborn baby doctor. That's a very stressful job, but at the same time, very fortunate to be in that particular field because you see the miracle every day. And what's more a miracle than just new life, seeing just being born right in front of your eyes. So that's something blessed with that. But again, we get more sick babies than healthy babies. But when they become actually healthy, and that's our wealth. So today is Guru Purnima, and Guru is the one who dispels your ignorance. Gu andhakaraha, Ru tannirodhakaha. Andhakara nirodhitvat, Guru iti abhidiyate. So, is it okay to say a few Sanskrit words like this? Yes. Okay. Yeah, but your awareness and then. Okay. Tell me if you want a little bit more explanation on a particular thing, I'll be happy to. So,
If you could explain the Sanskrit terms. So
Ah.
that's
so Guru is made up of 2 words. And in Sanskritam, even one alphabet has a meaning. No, Ku means bad. Okay. Su means good.
yes.
Ka means Akasha. Yeah. So Ka means, so a lot of space, so all inclusiveness. So each word has a meaning. Each alphabet also has a meaning. So Gu indicates Guha or Andhakara or darkness. And Ru, Rochana, the light. So when the light is shown upon, there's no darkness. So darkness is dispelled by the light. And whoever dispels and darkness of the ignorance. So ignorance is compared to darkness. So the one who shines the light upon our ignorance is Guru. Gukaraha andhakaraha, rukaraha tannirodhakaha, andhakara nirodhitvat gururiti abhidiyate. So that's actually the etymology of Guru. And today is Guru Purnima. So Purnima indicates fullness. And I'm sure you'll be chanting towards the end of Purnamada Purnamidam. So Guru, and there are again qualities of Guru. So let's not go into the details of them. So the one, briefly to explain, Guru is the one who knows Shastra thoroughly and also applies. It's two things. And then the third aspect is he has no secondary agenda. So by imparting his knowledge, so to you, he has no secondary agenda other than just, so helping us and enlightening us. So these are the three things. So Shrotriya, Brahmanishta. Shrotriya, Brahmanishta. Shrotriya is in Shrutis, well-versed scriptures. And Brahmanishta is the one who is established in that. And the other one is imparting the knowledge. So we learn in 4 different ways, 4 different quads or parts. If you just draw the 4 squares. So Acharyat Padamadatte. So the quad is learned from the teacher. Padam Shishya Swamedhaya. The quarter is by our own effort. Padam Sa Brahmacharibhyaha. So I actually learned 50% so from Srikar being a co-student, because both of us were students of Swami Bodhananda. And then of course, we've been like teaching each other, talking to each other, and arguing and critiquing and analyzing the talks. So that's how we learned. So Sa Brahmacharibhyaha. So co-students. Padam Kalakramecha. So the rest with time and with grace, that's what is imparted on us. Yeah. So Acharyat Padamadatte is so easy to understand now, isn't it? Yeah. Acharya means the one Swayam Acharati, the one who practices himself. And Anyan Acharayati. He makes others practice also. He just derives joy in making others practice. So that's Acharya. So Acharyat Padam Adatte. Padam means foot also, but Padam means a quad also. Yeah. Padam Shishya Swamedhaya. Padam Sa Brahmacharibhya. Padam Kalakramecha. So today Guru Purnima. Purnima is the fullness. So that fullness, Purnamada, is full. And all his effort is to make us also full. So Purnamida. Purnat Purnamudachite. So this is Guru Shishya Parampara. That's how, so from Vyasa onwards.
What's the difference between Guru and Acharya?
So Acharya, Guru is just the ultimate. If you actually look at the levels. So Guru can be Acharya, Acharya can be Guru also, but more philosophically, spiritually, Guru now has become an Oxford word, so Oxford dictionary word, so Guru has been yoga, Guru, karma, and all this. There is no better term, so they just explain. So somebody sent a message, so saluting Google today. We are in that 5G era, so 5G. One is Guru, and we have Gita. We have, of course, Govinda. Yeah. And then the 4th is the group discussion. Group discussion, see, satsang. 5th is Google. So anyway, so that's how it is. And so that Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachite. So Sadasiva Samarambham Vyasa Shankara Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Yeah. So Sadasiva, Narayana. So some people say Narayana Samarambham. Natha Yamuna Madhyama. In that tradition, so Natha and Yamunacharya. Asmat Acharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara. So just a couple of poems. One is on yoga and then one is on Guru. Yes, we'll do that. But these are a little bit more poetic because I have to bring the content and the subject and the philosophy into it. So sometimes, it may not be in a particular prosody. So, but you will see the content very pertinent. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sabhaye Namaha. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Yes. Thank you.
I can.
To serve with love. To serve with love. You might have seen that movie. It's a beautiful movie though. Yeah? So to serve with love and reverence. Salutations to gurus. And that's why we say Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Not just one Guru, Shri Gurave Namaha. So, yeah. Gurave Sarvalokanam is Dakshina. Dear sir, I bow to you with reverence and love. Our Guru, I owe you all that I am and my life. You are our teacher and preacher, father and mother, brother and every other. You are our guide, a bird and one of a kind, a dear friend and always kind. You teach us to mature like nature. You teach us to mature like nature. You treat us like your children to nurture. You reveal the truth at every moment like great elements in our environment. Prakriti and Panchabhutas are such great teachers. As ether is Akasha, to live without a taint. Yatha Akasham nopalipyate. Yatha Akasham na upalipyate. So the Akasha is not tainted. As ether to live without a taint. As water to flow like a current. Apa means spread. So apa means water. So because it spreads. So as water to flow like a current, as fire to be pure and radiant. Agni, Jnana Agni. So as wind to be strong and vibrant, as Mother Earth to be silent and tolerant. Thus you taught us. And in Guru Gita and Dattatreya story, there are 24 gurus. 24 gurus. I just enumerated some. You're present and evident. You're prevalent and dormant in a friend or a fiend, enemy. So in an admirer or a critic. If you're that good, like Sri Ramji, so why will there be an enemy? So the same thing with Dharmaraja also. He's called Ajatashatru. But he fought the biggest of the wars. So he didn't see Duryodhana as enemy, but Duryodhana saw him as enemy. So you're present in a friend or a fiend, in an admirer or a critic, in a master or a servant, in a beggar or a merchant, in a spider or a serpent, in a bee or an elephant, in a student or a patient for me. So patience teaches. So then, like the sun, you dispel our ignorance. Like the moon, you distill the happiness. Like the rain, you shower all the grace. Like the spring, you bring the fragrance. Like a mountain, you stand out with steadfastness. When you look at a mountain, it's so steadfast. That's why it's called Achala. Chala means Achala. Venkatachala, so Sheshachala, Garudachala. So you stand out with steadfastness. Like an ocean, you outstand with vastness. You are Guru who sings like a nightingale, the nectarine song of bliss. Our teacher who longs to teach us the scriptural and spiritual essence. Our preacher who brings out the innate power deep within us. Our master who illumines our dormant intellect. And you might have come across, we all have come across many gurus at many stages, starting with mother and father, and then our very teachers in elementary school and so on. You are our mentor who walks us to the threshold of our own self. Our guide who leads us to God seated deep within us. You are our God who unfolds the truth. Thou art that. Tattvamasi. So it's Guru Vakya. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat means that. Even in English, Tat is that. So that or thou. Tat Tvam Asi. So then contemplating on that, so the Shishya realizes that Aham Brahmasmi. So that's how it is. You are our Lord who reveals the divinity in all, instilling the unflinching faith. O Master, my Guru, O Lord, you be the expression of my life. That's all a student can desire and hope and pray for. You be the expression of my life. O teacher, my mentor, O God, let me be your extension in world. Let me be your extension in the world. Dear sir, I bow to you with reverence and love. Our Guru, I owe you all that I am in my life. So these are few from Guru Gita and then other scriptures. So I just tried to put together.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You want me to say a few words about yoga? Yeah, it will maybe a summary of what you learned in the last, a few sessions. So
Just a small request.
yes,
Once you finish about yoga,
Yeah.
if you could repeat the same poem again,
without interruptions.
I would
Yeah.
like to dance for it. As
Oh
you
my goodness.
please.
Oh my goodness. Maybe
Please
we
give
can
me that
ask.
opportunity.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. I'll do that. Subhapati.
Yes, definitely.
Please, I would.
Oh, lovely. I mean, it's an honor.
Sumitra's
It's-
accomplished dancer.
It's an honor, as you
Yes,
could
I'd
say.
like to
Yeah, yeah. Now or after the next one, Chair?
now or after, whichever you feel.
Yeah, let's do it now itself. Yeah.
Who said Leela?
I would like to see her dancing too.
Let's reverse this then. Yeah, I know you don't want to see me. And you're seeing the beautiful dance.
Uh,
I'll set it up. So what I'll do is I'll create a separate recording.